Hi, and welcome to The Working Songwriter, the show where today's best songwriters come to talk shop. I'm your host, Joe Pug. Each episode here, we host a distinguished guest, and we ask them to go deep on their inspiration, on their process, on the general ups and downs of making a life in music. So, whether you're a grizzled veteran trying to lose 15 pounds for your upcoming reunion tour, or else a scrappy upstart getting frosted tips for your upcoming coffee shop residency, this is your show, because ultimately it is what every writer seeks most, an ironclad excuse to put off actually writing. Hey everybody, it's the second Friday of June 2021, and I thank you for joining us. This week's show is brought to you by Bandzoogle. Built by musicians and for musicians, Bandzoogle is an all-in-one platform to build a beautiful website for your music. I'm old enough to remember when you had to pay somebody called a web developer to get a website made, and it would always be some guy named Milo who drove a Mitsubishi Mirage with a decal of Calvin and Hobbes peeing on a Honda logo. And old Milo would charge you about $1,000 for a website that would be obsolete in 6 months. But it's the future now, you guys. That's not how it works anymore. We're allowed to have nice things now. One of those nice things is Bandzoogle. Bandzoogle powers the websites of tens of thousands of musicians around the world, from weekend warriors to Grammy winners. All the features you need for a professional website are already built in. Hosting and a custom domain name, dozens of fully customizable design templates, tools to sell your music and merch commission-free. It's a wonderful product. The Working Songwriter podcast listeners can go to bandzoogle.com to try it for free for 30 days. Use the promo code TWS, the initials of our show, to get 15% off the first year of any subscription. If you'd like to hear some of my music live in the coming weeks, every single Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm over on YouTube for Sunday Songs. That's a live stream, man. I'm live. I'm playing tunes. I'm taking questions in the live chat. I'm taking requests in the live chat. It's a really fun, really interactive experience. I'd like to say that we're building something of a community over there on Sunday nights, including many people who are listeners to this podcast. So come on over and be a part of it every Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. Head to YouTube and search for Joe Pug, or go to joepugmusic.com and simply click on the live stream tab. Finally, if you enjoy this podcast, if you'd like to help it remain a viable endeavor for me, here's a couple things that you could do to help. First, you could become a supporter of the show over at Patreon. Patreon is a platform that allows you to directly support creative endeavors that you find meaningful. You just head to their site, Patreon. You search for The Working Songwriter or search for my name, and then you sign up to kick in a few bucks every month for the show. Think of it as a voluntary subscription, a subscription that you don't have to pay for, but that you choose to pay for because you dig the show and you won't miss a few bucks at the end of the month. If just 1% of our listenership would kick in the price of a cup of coffee every month, it would make an immense difference. So thank you to everybody who's already done that. And if you're not in a place where you can do that, I totally understand. You could still help out our show for free by either leaving us a rating in the iTunes store or also simply telling a friend about the show, spreading the word. The simple math on those two things is that they will help me much more than they will be a pain in the ass for you. Okay. That's all the harassment for this week. I really hope you enjoyed this interview with Mr. Paul Thorn. I think it's safe to say that our guest this week is the only person we've ever had on the program to have gone toe-to-toe with middleweight champion Roberto Duran. Paul Thorn hails from Tupelo, Mississippi, the son of a Pentecostal preacher who spent his early years in the boxing ring and also 12 years working in a furniture factory before taking his music to the national stage. He was discovered early on by Miles Copeland, former manager of The Police and Sting, and was signed to a deal with A&amp Records. He has toured with Huey Lewis and the News, Sting, John Prine, Marianne Faithfull, Mark Knopfler, Robert Cray, Bonnie Raitt, Jeff Beck, and many others. His songs have been covered by Tanya Tucker, Jerry Jeff Walker, Toby Keith, Billy Ray Cyrus, and many others. His penultimate record, Don't Let the Devil Ride, peaked at number 1 on the Billboard Blues Albums chart. Since his deal with A&M, he has remained fiercely independent, running his own label and merchandise company, Perpetual Obscurity, for the last 2 decades. NPR has lauded his ability to write songs that focus on people living on the margins of society. Rolling Stone has said that his music recreates Sunday revival energy. And the Associated Press noted of that aforementioned chart-topping album, the lyrics are pious, but the fervor is very human. Paul and I had a chance to catch up on the phone earlier this week, and I got to hear about his journey so far. Paul Thorn, thanks so much for being a part of the Working Songwriter podcast. Growing up in Tupelo, Mississippi, what did music look like in your life as a kid? What role did it play?
It was huge. My father's a Pentecostal preacher, and so that being said, there was lots of great music at the churches. And, back before you had to audition to be in the church band, everybody could bring their instruments to church. There was lots of old men that had, Gibson Hummingbirds under their bed. They'd bring these fine guitars that they could barely play. But when everybody would play together, it would develop this pocket. It's almost like a rockabilly pocket, but it was gospel lyrics. And I literally attended a lot of the same churches that Elvis Presley attended as a child, and we visited the black churches, and we went to the white churches too. And at the white churches, there was sort of a country western rockabilly type of music, and at the black churches, it was just straight up black gospel. So it was huge. It was my biggest influence, without a doubt.
At what age did you get when you realized how special that was? That's a really special upbringing. So at some point you must have hit the larger world and realized, wow, not everybody had that experience growing up.
Yeah. Just, as I went all over the world, I realized how special that school of music was for me. And but the pivotal moment in my musical journey was when I got in the talent show when I was in the 8th grade, and I sang Lionel Richie's 3 Times a Lady, and I won first place. And I didn't do well in school, but when I won the singing contest, all of a sudden the girls started liking me, and I liked the way that felt. And so that kind of propelled me. And that's when I turned over to devil music.
Now, was there some tension there with your dad, the preacher, and you playing secular music like that?
Well, yeah, they in their perfect world, I would have, grew up and became a minister and sang in the church, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't my calling. I think of the world as my church. Every day when I get out on the road, it's a new chance to connect with people, and that's the way my life is now.
Now, you had, obviously you're talking about playing that music young, and now it's what you do for a living, but you had a bit of a left turn in your career. You're certainly the first person we've had on this podcast who's gone toe-to-toe with Roberto Duran in the ring. So can you kind of explain to our listeners that period in your life where you thought you might, was boxing looking like it was going to be a full-fledged career to you, or was that just something that you were trying at the time?
No, it was at the time for one moment there. It was a career. I boxed for about 10 years, and at the height of whatever I accomplished, I was number 29 ranked middleweight in the world. And the highlight of my career was getting to fight on TV against Roberto Duran, one of the probably in the top 10 of the best that's ever lived list. And the thing about boxing is you can be good at boxing, but there's a difference between being good at boxing and being great at boxing. It's like, lots of people can play golf good, but they can't play like Tiger Woods. And, a lot of people want to shoot basketball, but they can't play like, Michael Jordan. Only a few have the gift. And in the boxing world, I did make it to the level to at least attempt to go against the best. But when I fought Duran, I gave a good account of myself, but he was the better man. And after I fought Duran, I had a few more fights after that against lesser opposition. But I sort of came to the realization that, yes, I was good, but I wasn't great. And so in a sport like boxing, unless you're great, there's no point to do it for any long period of time, because you're just going to wind up an opponent for some up-and-comer. And once I realized I took it as far as I could take it, I said goodbye to boxing, and I had a good memory with it. And then I went and focused on my music.
It's funny. I think a lot of people who invest that much time, you said you invested like a decade boxing, a lot of people would have a hard time making a clean break and getting out, a little bit early rather than a little bit too late. What do you think it is about your personality or your character that allowed you to make that clean break?
Well, unlike a lot of fighters that I know, they keep fighting too long, and they wind up with slurred speech and sadly brain damage, some of them. But the reason they keep doing it is that's all they've ever done, and they don't have anything to fall. They don't have anything to fall back on, and so they keep getting beat. But then after they keep getting beat over and over, they keep telling themselves, well, if I work out really hard, I can be the fighter I was 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But you only got so many fights in you, in the boxing game. And I was fortunate that I had people around me that when they saw, we've had a good time, but we're not gonna be able to go to any higher than we've came. They told me that, and I accepted it, and I knew it. I saw the handwriting on the wall. I was just I was good, but unless you're great in boxing, there's no point in really doing it unless you just want to do it for fun with your friends in the backyard or something, or punch a heavy bag or something to stay in shape. But I got out at the right time, and I don't have brain damage, and at this point, and I don't have any residuals from boxing. I don't think. I've always been absent-minded, but I don't think boxing had nothing to do with it.
Well, it does sound like you got out at the right time. It's interesting. You were mentioning that music was, in a way, your quote unquote fallback plan. You kind of flipped the script on that, because so many young people, when they get into music, they say to themselves, I need a fallback plan from music. But for you, music was the fallback. That was your second career option.
Yeah. And I didn't even, I was doing music and writing songs. And what got me noticed in the music world was there was this gentleman that I met when I was 17. His name was Billy Maddox. And he was a professional country songwriter who had a lot of success as a hit songwriter. And he heard some little rough demos I made on a cassette. And although that my songs were terrible, he saw that I had potential, and that he heard something in my faulty songs that he thought that he could help me tweak. And so we started writing songs for during that time, let me go back. When you're boxing, you're not a top great, like I said, you have to have a day job. So during the time I was boxing, I actually worked in a furniture factory, and just to pay my bills. And the factory would let me off for fights and stuff, and they supported me and bought me trunks and all that stuff, and that was good. But during that time, when I was working in the factory / boxing, I would meet with Billy Maddox 2 nights a week, and we would write songs. And this went on for 12 years. And like a lot of people trying to get noticed, we sent out cassette tapes to whoever would listen. And through a series of flukes and a long story I won't go into. Miles Copeland, the manager of Sting and the Police, got a copy of my demos of my songs, and he heard this large catalog of songs that I had, and so I happened to also be playing at a pizza restaurant one night a week, just me and my acoustic guitar. And one night when I was playing my acoustic gig, Miles Copeland came in. He flew down, and he saw me, and when I took a break from playing, he told me that he got my tape and he liked all my songs, and offered me a publishing deal, and I got a record deal on A&amp Records, and within a month I was able to quit my day job because they gave me money on my publishing deal, more money than I ever dreamed at the time, and so because of his connection with Sting, who was fixing to go out on a solo tour, I got asked to go on tour as the opening act for Sting, and being a minister's son, I had never been to a concert in my entire life. I didn't never know what it was like to go to a concert, and so the first time I ever attended a concert, I was opening for Sting in Nashville in front of like 13,000 people, and so when I got this tour with Sting, it was just me and my guitar. I didn't have a band. And so, the tour went really good, and for some reason I was able to captivate the crowds every night, and they were very good. And the word got out that in the business that there was a guy from Tupelo that could come out and entertain for 30 minutes with just an acoustic guitar. And so after that happened, I got offered a 30-date tour, which I took, opening for Jeff Beck, the guitar player. And then after that, I got the same offer. I did another tour with Mark Knopfler and just different ones. But what was happening is, even though the people were not coming to see me, some of those people liked me enough that they came back to see me do my own show when I would come back to their town, 6 months later. And so through all these opening slots, I actually built an audience over time, and I have that audience to this day. And I'm not selling out arenas or nothing like that, but I have a very respectable group of fans that come out and see me, and I love it when they come. And it's nothing goes as planned, but if you put one foot in front of the other and don't give up, something will happen.
How did you keep your head straight going from, like you said, playing an acoustic gig at, a local pizzeria to opening for 13,000 people, shortly thereafter with the publishing deal? I think that could have made a lot of people, that could have gone into a lot of people's heads, and they wouldn't have handled it correctly in the right way. How did you keep on the straight and narrow to a certain degree?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, man. I guess I don't know the answer to that. I just one thing I never even one thing that helped me is I never drank alcohol I never even tasted alcohol till I was like 32 years old. Mm-hmm. And so there was pitfalls, that anybody can fall into. But once again, I had people around me that weren't just yes men. They were, because Billy, the guy I was writing songs with, he's actually my manager to this day. He wound up being my manager, when I became the artist and got some things going. And we made a handshake agreement, me and Billy did, when I was 17, that if anything happened with my career, we would just be partners. And mm-hmm. that's what it's been. I'm 56 years old now, and Billy and I have been working together since I was 17.
That is unlikely in so many ways, not the least of which is that you're not only business partners, but you've been creative partners for so long. Just to go back a little bit, when you were very green, starting out, like you said, you were about 17 years old, he had experience writing country hits and stuff like that. What are some of the very basic building block lessons that you learned from him about writing a good song?
Well, that's a good question. The one thing that I like to have, obviously, is a strong idea, and I like my songs to be. I like my songs are like country songs. Well, I don't consider myself a country artist, but my songs are like country songs in that they have a verse usually and a chorus usually, and if it needs it, it has a bridge. And the chorus, I like my choruses to be sing along. I like my choruses to be something that sounds like, without being able to find the right word. I like my songs to sound like hits, if that makes sense. I like them to say something, and I like them to have a memorable melody. And most of my songs are story songs, or my lyrics are not abstract. You know what's happening when you listen to my songs. I don't use big, words that Joe Blow don't even know the meaning of. My songs are like a Dick and Jane book. You can understand every single thing that's going on. And Billy taught me about, economy of words. If you can, like the Mac Daddy of economy of words was probably somebody like, Hank Williams Sr., just the way he wrote. I mean, he didn't say a lot of words, but the words were just killer words, man. They're just like, it was like when he said the one song, just as an example, Hank Sr., he would say, "As I sit here lonely in my cabin, I can see your mansion on a hill." And that says so many things.
Yes.
It could say 1,000 different things, but it's the simplest little sentence. There's a real trick, and it's hard. It's really hard to say a whole lot with just a few words. And that's what one of the things that Billy taught me as well is to say a whole lot with very little words. One of my personal favorites of my own songs that I ever wrote was I have a song called "I Have a Good Day Every Now and Then," and I got that from a friend of mine who was dying of Parkinson's. Mm-hmm. And I called him on the phone one day, and I said, and I knew he was on his way out. He knew it. And I said, "Man, how are you, Steve?" And he says, "Well, I have a good day every now and then." And then when I got off the phone, that simple phrase became one of my most popular songs among my fans. And when I sing that song live, the entire building sings it. And I just step back from the microphone and, and this real simple chorus. This is what the chorus says. "I have a good day every now and then. I count my blessings on one hand. I start believing the sun will shine again. I have a good day every now and then." And when I sing that and those people sing that with me, it's powerful. And it's because of my friend Steve, who had Parkinson's. He said it so eloquently. And the reason he was able to do that is because he was living it. He was experiencing it. It didn't need no frosting on it. He just put the cake out there with no frosting, man. And those words are magic.
It's so true. I think one of the things that I dislike about certain songs is when writers try to be too clever or they want to prove to you how much they know by using certain words. I'm just instantly repulsed by it, and I think many listeners are too. You talk about Hank Williams there, and yeah, you take a line like "The moon just went behind the stars to hide his face and cry." It's like there's like what, mostly one syllable words and a couple 2-syllable words in there,
yeah,
and yet it's the most evocative.
Yeah, when you were saying that, literally chill bumps jumped on my arms just then because
exactly,
he died young, and he died with substance issues. He was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So the reason, somebody asked me the other day, Hank wrote "I Saw Light," and somebody said, "How could a person as wicked as him have ever written "I Saw the Light"?" Mm-hmm. And I said, if he didn't have that wicked side, he wouldn't have ever wrote "I Saw the Light."
No, that's exactly
because you got to be in the darkness to even know what the light is.
Well, and also I just think it's very naive for anyone to say that as if they don't have any darkness within. The line between good and evil runs down the middle of every person's heart. I mean, there's no there's no completely good
Yeah.
person and no completely bad, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's. Have you ever ran into this? I struggle for simplicity in my songs a lot, and sometimes when I take them and I'll play them for a producer or for whoever, they'll sometimes think that the simplicity in the song is not a choice. Like they think it's too simple, and I have to explain to them, I'm like, look, man, I know words that are more complicated than this. I'm not an idiot, but I chose for it to be this simple. This is an artistic choice for me to be this simple. Have you ever run into that?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's. I think there are people that do that. They're probably deep down. They're probably insecure and don't. Maybe they think, if I say fancy words, I can sell this because the song ain't really saying that much. But if I put some cool sounding words in there, maybe I'll get on the cover of
Yeah.
cover of somebody's magazine or something. I don't know.
Yeah. What was it like? You said, after that whole experience with Copeland and Sting, you were signed to A&M. This was in the late 90s when labels were at the absolute height of their influence. This is like right before Napster crashed the whole thing,
Yeah.
before streaming. What was it like to be signed to a major at that time? What was your experience with them?
Well, I got an answer for that. When I got my record deal on A&M, the thing I didn't know when I got my record deal on A&M was at the time I got my record deal, A&M was being bought out by a larger company called Interscope. And if you were on A&M, if you weren't already a big name star, all the baby acts got dropped. So as my record was quote unquote coming out, it really never really even came out. It was just a joke, really. There was no promotion. There was no nothing. They put it in the store, but that was all they did. They had no intention of getting behind my record. It was just because they were going through a buyout from Interscope. So, it was a learning experience. But I will say this: when I lost my deal with A&M, me and Billy, person I keep going back to, we decided to start our own record company. And that was back when CDs were selling like crazy. You could sell CDs and stuff. And so we had a little studio. And so we recorded our own project. And we made CDs. And we got in the car. And we just hit the road selling and doing shows, going back to these towns where all these big, giant crowds had come to see us. And, not all those people came back, but a lot of them did. And we started perpetuating growth, man. And, every time we go back, the crowds would get a little bit bigger. And it was, and we, like 13 or 14 records later, we're still an independent entity. We get every time we put a record out, we hire Sony Red to help us with distribution and stuff. But we've got enough legs under us now that we are a functional record company for whatever. Well, I don't even know if we're a functional record company because record companies are going extinct because of the internet. But we consistently put out albums and we consistently tour. We own our own merchandise. We own, and we still print CDs, but not as much as we used to because they just don't, that technology is going away. But I'm very proud of one thing. Somebody may say I'm wrong when I say this, but I really believe we may be the very first truly independent artist. I haven't heard of anybody else that. When I say totally independent, I mean totally independent. I mean, we own the T-shirts, we own the koozies, we own everything, and it's really benefited. I mean, I haven't had a day job in 25 years, and it's because I have a successful business, and man, if somebody was trying to start today from scratch like we did, I wouldn't know what to tell them, man. I really wouldn't, because, social media and all that and the internet, it is so hard to draw attention to anything. I mean, think about it, man. You're putting out a record, I'm putting out a record, but you're like a needle. We're like needles in a haystack, man. I mean, when somebody goes to the, internet looking for music, there's a deep, deep well, man. It's how do you even call attention that you even exist anymore? And that's where I'm fortunate that I've developed a fan base that, a lot of my fans have become friends. A lot of people know I'm coming to town, and they'll like come to the shows, and they'll bring us fried chicken, and we'll hang out. And it's like it's without sounding corny, there is almost a family feel to it, and I'm very fortunate because I've accumulated, with a bad analogy here, but I got a lot of nuts in the tree, man. Cause I'm a hard working squirrel,
Yeah.
and I got a lot of nuts in the tree, and those nuts are my fans, and they have never left me. And what's really cool is they haven't left me. And then when they come see me, they bring somebody, and it's been, I'm blessed. I know that's a corny thing too, but it's the truth. I'm blessed, man, because like I said, if somebody wanted to start right now from scratch, I don't even know what to tell them,
Yeah, it's funny. I've been thinking about it more and more as, putting up my records myself and doing things like that, as owning a very small restaurant in a town, and how do I make people want to come to my restaurant, and it's probably hard to turn a buck as that restaurant, but if people love what you do and they can tell that there's love in the design of the restaurant and the design of the menu, obviously in the food, in the service, if they can tell that you give a damn, they'll give a damn. And I don't know what your experience was, but over COVID for me, my fans took care of me, man, over the whole thing. And it was because, had spent 10 or 15 years going to their town, shaking their hand, signing their thing, sending a message to their kid on the birthday, It's it becomes a relationship,
I do, man. Amen to that. I mean, I've built my whole career on that, because the other benefit I got from being a Pentecostal church and my dad being a minister, I have social skills, and I understand, and I understand how important it is to be friendly to people, go up, shake their hand, give them a hug, have a moment with them, and when I'm after my shows, when I go, when it's over, I go out to the front, the foyer, and I'll take pictures and sign stuff and have brief moments with my fans. And that's what it's all about, man. Yeah, I mean, I know so many artists, I would never call any names. I wouldn't. So many artists I've toured with, when the show, at an independent level, I get it if you're Sting. I get it.
Right.
You can't go out there. Right. But at an independent level, man, when that show is over, you need to go out there and talk to your fans and tell them, thank you for coming, man. You take a picture with them. If you do that one thing, they will be your fan for life.
Yes. It's if you're touring nightclubs and you're not basically pressing the flesh while merch is being sold, or, man, I'm doing it half the time where I'm running the square reader myself and shaking hands too. And, it gives people skin in the game with you, and it makes them realize, like, damn, this is an independent artist, and obviously what they do is special and kind of transcendent on an artistic level. But I feel like it also makes them root for you, because they can kind of see, like, hey, what this guy is doing, maybe that's a little bit like my job where I have to go hustle every day.
Yeah. But that's the point I left out a minute ago. Is a lot of the artists I tour with, they don't even go out. They'll get off the stage, and they'll go back and collapse in a dressing room like they've been in something strenuous, which they haven't. I mean, all they've done is, you go out there and you stand in front of people for 90 minutes. They adore you. How can you hold up under all that? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's like, they'll go, I need a glass of wine. I'm tired. I gave my all. No, you didn't. You just back in the dressing room eating chips and salsa.
Yeah.
And your fans wish they would come out. You'd come out there. And I tell you, the king of all that, doing it right, was the recently passed John Prine, who I had the privilege of getting to open for so many times I can't count. And he would do that. He would go out. But he did it a different way. He would go back after the show. When it would end, he would go, but he wouldn't immediately go out. He would go back and sit for just a few minutes. And then he would come out to the front of the stage, and the ones that were still there that wanted to talk to him, he'd talk to them. that was kind of smart in a way, because he weeded out the ones that were, he got to the ones that really wanted to see him.
Right.
He would go back stage just for a little bit, and then he would come out and he would sign until the last one was gone, man. And he was a sweetheart. And also another influence in my life was him. And sadly, he died. And I'm sorry he died. But one of the other reasons I'm sorry he died is I just cut a new record. Well, I cut it in 2019, but it's coming out. But we didn't release it because what was the point? We're in the middle of a pandemic. You can't put a record out during a pandemic.
Right.
So, but I had him on the hook to sing a duet with me.
Oh,
and
man.
I called him on the phone and I said, would you sing this song with me? And he liked the song and he said he would. And I was excited about that. But sadly, not long after that, he fell and broke his hip and he got COVID and all this stuff happened that he couldn't do anything. So he passed before he ever got to sing on my record. But that's the kind of guy he was. He was everybody was the same to him. He would talk to a wino the same way he talked to the president. He was present to whoever he was talking to, and he was just a sweetheart, man. The last time I saw John live, we was in the Dominican Republic, and he had invited me to be part of this songwriter festival in the Dominican. And there was one night where all the artists, myself, Tyler Childers, Nathaniel Ratliff, I can't remember all the names of them, but some really great artists were there, and we were all doing, we'd all get up and do a song of John's as a tribute, and I sang a song and everything. But I just remember when he got there to the venue, he could barely walk because he just had health issues, but he was walking to the stage. And when he was walking to the stage, it was almost like Jesus was walking to the stage, because wherever he went, it's like the crowd just like they stepped back and they just gave him a path. It was something to see. He was just a human being full of flaws like all of us, but he was so revered. He was up in the level of somebody like Muhammad Ali or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, believe me. I know. I mean, I've just,
he was, and his songs, I mean, you talk about, his songs were full of empathy. He felt what you felt, and he could put it in a word. He could put his words so good together. And, he was somebody I'm glad I got to know, man, because he set the bar really high,
and
he's somebody to never be forgotten.
And he's a really good example of an artist that did it independently as well, because Oh Boy Records, I think he started that in the 80s and continued with it. And so he was certainly ahead of the curve as well on the idea of saying, well, I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to run my own business here.
Yeah. I'm not sure what made him break, but I think it was when Bonnie Raitt toured. When Bonnie Raitt was blowing up, I could be wrong on this, but I think I'm right. When Bonnie Raitt blew up, she took him out as her opening act, and according to things I've heard people say, that was what really got him to the next level, because he just blew those people away,
Yeah.
When he did his thing, yeah.
Well, imagine getting to that next level, because he had probably had 20 or 25 years in the business and had his own following. So imagine getting that opportunity after 20 years of knowing how to get in front of a crowd and hold their attention. I mean, that's just got to be shooting fish in a barrel at that point.
Yeah. Well, his success, that kind of success couldn't have been given to a better person. Yeah. I mean, he was so, he would when we was touring together, after the shows at night, he would invite me and his crew to his hotel suite to eat ice cream. I mean, that's just the kind of guy he was. And he liked to read Archie comic books. He was a big Archie fan, and he would talk about comic books. I mean, he was like a child in some ways, but in a very appealing way. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Well, we all know grown men who act like children in all the wrong ways. So when you finally find a grown man,
Well, there's two of them. I know two of them that's on the phone right now talking to each other.
probably.
Yeah. No, there ain't no problem to it. You know, we hard to live with.
No, it is. It is, man. Are you stuck in a rut? Are you tired of listening to that Jimmy Buffett 20th Century Masters CD over and over again and need some new music? Are you sick of making hamburger helper beef stroganoff for dinner every night and you want something new to cook? What you are looking for, my friends, is the Enthusiast Digest. That's my monthly newsletter, which arrives in your inbox the first Sunday morning of every month, bursting with musical recommendations, poetry selections, recipes and cooking techniques for my favorite dishes, and items of general interest culled from the vast cesspool that is the internet. The Enthusiast Digest is free to subscribe to. If you dig the poetry that you hear on this show and the artists that you're hearing from, you'll dig the newsletter because I approach it with the exact same sensibility of curation. Go to joepugmusic.com/newsletter today to sign up for free. That is joepugmusic.com/newsletter. It takes approximately 15 seconds to sign up for a free newsletter that will enrich the first Sunday of your month with a veritable cornucopia of new and delightful recommendations. That's the Enthusiast Digest, the first Sunday of every month. Sign up for free at joepugmusic.com/newsletter. As an independent artist for over 2 decades, it's safe to say Paul knows what work is. You don't stay in this business for that long without having to drive a van for hundreds of miles, clock a marathon recording session to save money, stay after the show for hours to personally connect with every listener who would like to. But since music was not his first line of employment, he also has perspective on work. I would imagine 12 years working in a furniture factory would do that. I would imagine a decade in the fight game would do that. Sure, music can be a grind, but what isn't? And there's a wonderful poem by Philip Larkin that puts work also into perspective. It's entitled Toads. Why should I let the toad work squat on my life? Can't I use my wit as a pitchfork and drive the brute off? 6 days of the week it soils with its sickening poison, just for paying a few bills. That's out of proportion. Lots of folk live on their wits. Lecturers, lispers, losers, loblolly men, louts. They don't end as paupers. Lots of folk live up lanes with fires in a bucket, eat windfalls and tinned sardines. They seem to like it. Their nippers have got bare feet, their unspeakable wives are skinny as whippets, and yet no one actually starves. Ah, were I courageous enough to shout, "Stuff your pension." But I know all too well that's the stuff that dreams are made on. For something sufficiently toad-like squats in me, too. Its hunkers are heavy as hard luck and cold as snow, and will never allow me to blarney my way of getting the fame and the girl and the money all at one sitting. I don't say one body's the other one's spiritual truth, but I do say it's hard to lose either when you have both. Now, talk to me a little bit about your writing process and how that has changed over the years. Obviously, you got your start learning from Billy Maddox and you continue to work with him, but how is your process, the actual nuts and bolts of putting a song together, how has that evolved and changed over time?
One way it's changed is cell phones. I mean, I used to have to carry a notepad around in my pocket all the time. I've always got something to document ideas, because ideas they come all the time. You don't know when they're going to come. And, but I'll be riding in my car and someone hit me, and I just hit the record button on my phone, and I just record it. I got gajillions of little ideas, just little snippets of things that some of them turn into songs and some of them don't. But I'm constantly keeping my eyes and my ears open, because I can only write about what I know and what I observe, and that's what I do. And now you don't even have to have a recording studio to make a record. You can make a record on your phone. Yep. I mean, if it's crazy the things that can be done now, which goes back to what I said earlier. There's so much music out there. You're like a needle in a haystack. But here's the one thing I do believe will always break through is a great song. I'll give you a couple examples of, in my opinion, when I heard what's that group? Alabama Shakes. Yeah. When I first heard them with that big song they had,
Hold On.
Hold On. When I heard that song for the first time, I said it to myself. I said, that's a hit song right there. And because it has everything in it. It has everything. It's got a woman singing her butt off. It's got a subject matter that we can all feel. Sometimes we got to hold on because it's getting rough out there, and it's a universal, simple thing to say. It's a simple song, and I just heard it. I heard it, and I said, "Yeah, that's going to be something." And another example, probably the biggest Americana artist right now is probably Jason Isbell, and I understand now why one of his records, but just my opinion, keep that in mind, why one of his records popped, like the Southeastern record. There's a song on there that when I heard it, I got why it blew up. That song, Cover Me Up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
Well, when I heard that song, I said, man, that's a hit song. When I say hit, I don't mean a hit on the top 40 charts. I mean, it's a hit with people that listen to it. It's a song, it's a song about that song he wrote. It's about recovering from alcohol. And he worded it so beautifully, and he put the person listening, he painted a picture that made you feel like you was there yourself. And there was a lot of people struggling with drinking that benefited from hearing that song. And he's got lots of other great songs too, but that's just, when a song is good, it once it gets heard, it'll go somewhere. The problem is getting it heard. There's so much content out there, and the other thing you learn in the business is not everybody is your friend, and not everybody has your back. Not everybody wants you to succeed. A lot of people don't want you to succeed, and they'll literally make efforts to make it not happen for you. But you just have to, figure out a way to stay away from those toxic people and connect with people that's worth being around, people that'll lift you up, and you lift them up too. But it's a really competitive business, and there's a lot of people. They don't want your great song. If you got a great song, they don't want the world to hear it. They're in it for themselves,
How do you tell one person from another, yourself in the business in that sense, someone who wants you to succeed, someone who doesn't want you to?
It don't take long, man. God gives us something called a gut feeling.
Yeah.
And that gut feeling is rarely wrong. It's rarely wrong, man. You can tell if you got any kind of the discernment. If you have any kind of discernment, you can know in 15 minutes talking to somebody pretty accurately who you're talking to and what kind of person you're talking to. There's people, when you talk to them, they don't want to talk about anything that's not related to them. You run into that all the time. And you got other people who patiently listen and care about what you say. And you give it back to them. That's what's called a friend, and those are few and far between, but they're there.
They are. Just go back to what you were saying about those songs like "Hold On," like "Cover Me Up." I've always looked at it
That's
as
just two examples.
No, I know, but I feel like every artist
Yeah.
needs that one doorway into their catalog. You need that one song that brings a listener, because usually when listeners hear about a new artist, they're just like, why do I need to listen to a new artist? I don't care. I got a lot of artists I like. Who's this Joe Blow, that wants me to listen to his tune? But if you can get them with that one song, then they'll come along for the ride for the other stuff. But you got to have that one.
Yep. And and that's such a guessing game, man. We're all wishing for that. It's just, it's almost like a convenience store scratch off. You keep thinking this one's going to win. But if you write a great song, I really believe sooner or later it's going to be found and it's going to be heard. Whether it's, early on when I was writing songs with Billy, I had a lot of songs recorded by famous people. I had songs recorded by, it's a different era, keep in mind, but it was people like Tanya Tucker, Sawyer Brown, Billy Ray Cyrus, all kinds of Jerry Jeff Walker. I got a whole bunch of songs recorded by other people who thought my songs were great. And I appreciate them thinking that. But up to this, but I had a lot of album cuts, but I never had one that became a hit single, and but that's what I continue, even at the age of 56, I continue to know it's important to put out, to write a great song. And so it's been 6 years since I put out an album of original music, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Sadly, one of the reasons I hadn't put out a record in 6 years is my drink. I started drinking, and it snuck up on me, man. I started feeling anxiety before I go on stage, and I would have maybe a shot of tequila and get just that little happy buzz feeling. And then after a while, one wasn't doing it. One didn't do anything anymore. And then it turned into 2 shots before I went on stage. Then it escalated all the way up to 4 shots before I went on stage. And then there were times I got sloppy. I got sloppy on stage and wasn't on my A game. And when you're drinking, all those years, those 6 years that I didn't put a record out, I blame drinking and myself for that. But the happy news is during those 6 years, the songs I did write were, I believe, the best I've ever written, because I was writing about what was happening, in my life, and there's a song on my new record called "It's Never Too Late to Call," and I wrote this song about my sister who passed away from cancer, and but she was a night owl, and she stayed up all hours of the night. And sometimes after the shows, I'd be basically drunk, and I wanted somebody to talk to, and I called my sister, and she would always talk to me late at night. And when she died, I really missed that. And often before we get off the phone, she would say, "Remember, I love you, and it's never too late to call." And that became a song called "Never Too Late to Call." And it's whether or not it ever gets noticed, in my heart, I know it's a great song because it came from a real place, and all the ingredients is there. Is it going to ever get heard? I don't know. That's like I said, that's the convenience store scratch off thing. I don't know, but do I believe it's a great song? Yes. I mean, the opening line says so much. I mean, the opening line is, "Some nights I get intoxicated to forget about what's wrong. If you feel like a sparrow who has fallen, you are not alone." And the chorus says, "When you're wearing concrete shoes at the bottom of a lake and it feels like your heart can't take another break, Just remember that I love you, and it's never too late to call. And that didn't most of those words didn't even come from me. They came from her. So I give her the credit for that. But that's powerful, man. And it's not because I'm anything special. It's just because it came from something that was real. And I didn't have to write it. It wrote itself.
Well, yeah, but you've also devoted your life to being in a position to kind of catch that song when it comes by. You know, you've made sacrifices in your life to be an artist and to do that thing. So I know what you mean when you say, well, I'm not special. It just came to me. But I think, you know, you do give up a lot in life to focus on this one, this one crazy obsession that we all have, which is to just basically catch that Moby Dick of a song that we're all chasing.
Yeah. We always say this in our organization. We say, without a song, it's all for naught.
Yep.
You know, there is in any era, there's going to be good and bad music. There's good music right now, but there's some bad music now too. I wouldn't call anybody's name out, but everybody has their own opinion of what's good and what's bad. But there's stuff that's on the top of the charts that it's I don't understand. I just scratch my head. I mean, it's like, and once they have a hit with something, they'll put out 20 more songs just like that one.
Right.
And it sounds like the same song getting played over and over again.
No,
they just recreate the same thing, and they sell it as long as they can. And then when it don't sell no more, they kick it to the curb and try something different, you know. But there's good stuff out there, you know, like just, for example, I don't remember when it came out. It's kind of older now, but Miranda Lambert came out with a song called The House That Built Me. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that, I got that same sense. I said, this is a monster, and it's going to be a hit. And it was. It's because whoever wrote that song, they lived it, you know. And I don't even know who wrote it, but whoever wrote it, they had to have lived it because it was so powerful. And so it painted such a vivid picture in the listener's mind, you know. And if your song ain't doing that, don't even worry. Just don't even sing it. Sing it to your girlfriend on the tailgate of a truck, but don't sing it in front of people.
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it. Paul Thorn, thank you so much for being a part of the Working Songwriter Podcast. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and I want to say, my new record, Never Too Late to Call, is coming out in August the 6th. So everybody, pick up a copy of it or download it or listen to it on Spotify and come see me. And by the way, I want to say, I want to wish you luck on your show. It's a good show. I looked at some of the other episodes. You do well, and you're good. You're a good interviewer, and I just hope you have even more success.
Thank you, brother. I'll see you somewhere down the line.
Have a good one.
All
See
right,
ya.
peace. This week's show is brought to you by Bandzoogle. Built by musicians and for musicians, Bandzoogle is an all-in-one platform to build a beautiful website for your music. Use promo code TWS, the initials of our show, to get 15% off the first year of any subscription. Paul Thorn's forthcoming album is entitled It's Never Too Late to Call, and it's available for pre-order right now at paulthorn.com. If before we meet again you sit down to write, please remember, an expensive drug habit is not a song, a compelling Instagram account is not a song, and most importantly, reverb is not a song. So let all those things take care of themselves, and for you, just keep your eye on the song.